Word silence.
There's a long delay, guys. But, hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me remind you we are covered by the BIP No Government License, which allows for the reuse and distribution of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for bludgies and the government thereof, or the government and the bludgies. Sorry.
We're already laughing. So.
All right. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org, bipcot.org. I'm just going to stop talking.
This is starting out really well.
We're in trouble. It's going to be a long show.
Flying colors.
We're fucking professionals. Fucking professionals.
King of the Special Olympics here. No. So, speaking of how professional.
Okay, so this podcast, let's think of all podcasts as the South Park universe. And this podcast is Cartman trying to cheat the Special Olympics so he can win.
You're still
and still fucking losing.
Yeah, right? Mixed in with the episode where he was slinging fucking KFC chicken and snorting the fucking chicken skin.
Yeah.
Cripple fight. I loved that so much because it is actually a shot-for-shot, move-for-move replica of They Live, the fight in They Live. It's exactly right, move for move. It's friggin' awesome.
How did I never notice that?
Yeah, I only noticed because I saw something with Stone and Parker, and they were talking about that they had specifically been like, I don't want to choreograph this entire long fight. And then somebody had suggested the fight and They Live, and they're like, yes. So they did it.
Just do it.
That's awesome.
You know,
Like, nice.
Yep. How professional are we? It took us 2 years to get an actual MP3 podcast going.
Yeah.
But we have one.
We've been YouTube live videos calling ourselves a podcast for 2 years now.
Without actually being a podcast. That's
Well, it was
Right.
all like a psychological mind fuck, you know what I mean? We were making people thirsty for the past 2 years, you know? Now we release it to the public and they're ravenous for it.
Yep. So yeah,
We're teasing them. We always leaving them wanting more.
Exactly.
it's like the Apple update of improvements, though. Like,
so yeah, we're on Anchor.
And none of us read the user terms.
Nope,
Not
ever.
one of us.
Except
Oh god, they're gonna show up asking for the human centipede.
Ugh.
Shotgun. I go first. Okay, we're on Anchor. We're on Anchor, Google Podcast, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Stitcher. We're on as Anarchy Among Friends.
We're fucking
sweet.
big time now, boys.
didn't I see where the Google podcast, right? Too, they have on there. Yeah. So if you have Google Play Music, it actually shows up as podcast that you can subscribe to, which is cool.
Nice.
No.
Official.
So we're on Google Play.
Yeah.
Huh.
And we have had, we've had 7 plays of our latest episode since that went up.
Nice.
Nice.
Holy crap.
Hell yeah.
Maybe people
Thanks,
will
Mom.
actually start listening to us.
Yeah, let's see. We had 3 listeners from Stitcher, 2 from Other, 1 from Anchor, and 1 on Android.
Nice.
Whatever that means.
That's probably to Play Music, it would be my guess.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, one of these days we'll hit it big. Probably
Subscribe to us.
posthumously. I always
Subscribe
think
to
that.
us.
Yes, subscribe to us. I always think about that. I'm like, nobody watches this show. Well, I mean, we don't give a fuck. We do it because we enjoy talking to each other. But
Yeah.
like,
A lot of fucking
nobody
fun.
watches this show. But after we're all dead, it's gonna like be in some fucking Star Trek database in the computer somewhere.
Right?
It's been kind of come like this cult classic.
Exactly. I hope for that.
The founder.
Yeah.
I don't even want
That's
fame
what
in
it
my
is,
own
like-
lifetime.
like,
I just
we're gonna
want,
go-
like
what
posthumously
they're gonna
be
do, what
famous
they're
like
gonna do.
Shakespeare.
They're gonna take the YouTube videos and like add it to like the holodeck library.
Right.
So that we can like hang out. Then like people can sit with us and just listen.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wasn't that in Fahrenheit 451 where she was doing that? I'm pretty sure that's a scene in Fahrenheit 451.
She was just talking to the TV. It's not a hologram or like a holosuite or whatever. It's like
not
a TV that takes up a whole wall.
And it's not nearly as cool as we are.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as cool.
Well, as cool as you guys are.
Well, I'm pretty cool. I've read Fahrenheit 451. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I have a copy of it sitting around somewhere. First edition.
I'm dating him. That's all I got. Sorry.
She downloaded that fucking information by beef injection.
Hot beef.
Kind of like the Matrix, but
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Instead of the back of the neck.
That is not a part of the Pornhub after show.
Right.
I mean,
right. Because we do need to go up on Pornhub. I mean, Pornhub, if we're looking for like, you know, the largest viewership market in the entire world, Pornhub is what we're looking for.
Pornhub plows roads and rakes leaves.
Yeah.
I'm just not cool if I'm comfortable with, like, you know, people beating off to our fucking podcast.
Hey man, if that's what
they do it already, or is that just me later when I read?
We'll need to introduce an AMSR or ASMR or whatever section where we just whisper into the mic one after another.
Yeah. We could have an episode where we all just show our feet, you know, for the fetishes.
We'll all do like NPR voices, like neuro linguistic programming style shit.
Yeah.
Where we all speak softly.
We can alter the sound and just make it like everything really deep.
Yeah.
That's what liberals masturbate
the Bob
to.
Ross voice right up in the mic.
Yep. Does it sound like you're on Quaaludes?
Yeah.
Derek, I can channel her 1-900 voice.
Don't know.
Are you not?
Yeah.
Shit, did I miss out on the
world
party,
may
guys?
never know. Shut up, Dan. Snitches get stitches.
Yeah.
1-900 Derek.
Yeah, right.
I love that comic that for a good time call, and then it's the dude skydiving. He's like, "This is amazing. No one ever called."
And the guy's like, "I know, but nobody ever calls." I love that.
Sometimes you got to take the chance, you know.
And they're hang gliding. Yeah,
Oh, they're hang gliding. All right, I got what they were doing. Something in the sky.
The guy's like, "Yeah."
Something in the sky.
I have no idea. I'm on a lot of Quaaludes right now. What do you want?
Lucy. It's Lucy, and she's got diamonds.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
Yeah.
Which actually supposedly is definitely not about LSD, according to. I think that was Paul McCartney that said that it was absolutely definitely not about LSD, and I'm like, right?
Yeah, yep.
Just like I absolutely did not make that meme about Dan today. That was all Slinky. Yeah.
Speaking of which, that reminded me, because when I saw it reminded me of the time I went to New York City for New Year Eve and I almost got a fist fight with a guy because I asked him if he liked some band and he was like, "They're not better than Slayer," and I was like, "What does that have to do with anything?" And he was about to fight me over it.
I'm not asking you for your top 10 list. I'm just asking you if you fucking like them.
Fucking reaction I ever got in my life. I was like, "Are you okay?"
All right, man. I want to get stabbed tonight. So
that's a fucking zealot. You stumbled across a zealot.
Seriously,
John. Excuse me, John, if I mispronounced your last name. John Houchin, Houchin, says, "Good evening, you sexy beasts," and that he was Mickey Malone on Facebook. He got the death penalty for unknown reasons. Love the show.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, Mickey.
Yeah.
Hey, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey.
That needs to be how we need to open every show from now on, is Derica doing "Hey Mickey." I think.
Yeah, right.
That's better than my thought of Dan and Leotard doing a floor routine.
How did you know about
We
that?
want to get more viewers, not less.
Everyone would just be.
I think what we need is Andrew and Dan doing the sisters routine from White Christmas. You know, sisters, never were there such devoted sisters.
No, we definitely need to be doing the Will Ferrell cheerleader thing from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, with Stereo Terry, that's good shit, man.
Steady, okay.
You guys see Saturday Night Live? They did a Joe Biden uncomfortable touch routine.
Oh God.
Oh, you got to go look that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out later. That
I'm
sounds.
so. Can we talk about how happy I am that Biden memes are back?
Right?
All this like Biden being inappropriate. It's ruining the chances of a Biden-Trump-Sanders debate.
I know.
No, it's not, because he's a Democrat and they always
Like,
put fucking Chris
No.
and Forbes in the
The
convention.
no. The leader of the Me Too movement has come out calling Biden a creep and said that his apology was disingenuous and all the other stuff.
Well, yeah, his apology
You know what would
wasn't even
be
an apology.
glorious? You know, if the left is, if like some of the left leadership, if that's what you want to call it, is turning against him, I would love to see him get the Democratic nomination. And then they have to fucking vote for him to toe the party line.
Yeah.
Because that's what Democrats do.
They're gonna have no choice, and they're not
Either
gonna
that
know
or they're not gonna like it. That's glorious.
He better stay ahead of the game, and I hope he gets the nominee, and then we can see him and Trump and Sanders on the stage.
Oh my God!
If that is not a perfect setup for Three Stooges memes.
Oh my God!
Holy
the
shit.
number of memes.
The memocracy will feast on it for years.
I'm honestly thinking that like
Or
they're
meme
floating all
economy
these
is what I
people. They're like floating all these people out here, and then they're taking them down like one by one, and then they're gonna probably bring in somebody like Michelle Obama or Hillary again.
So you think they're like pushing people through the public opinion sieve and seeing what shit sticks to the wall on the other side.
There's still Beto. Beto is the youngster. He's the charismatic
Beta O'Rourke.
Yeah. How about Yang? That guy. I mean, that guy doesn't fit the Asian stereotype at all because he fucking sucks at math. I'm just saying.
Have you seen some of the ridiculous like commercials for him now that have already come out where they're
God, we haven't had cable in over a decade.
Oh God, no! I mean, like on YouTube and stuff, and Facebook, I've seen some of them come across. They're like legit, like that he had put out, but they're like a Japanese game show commercial. Like it makes no sense.
Like
at
MXC?
all. Yeah,
Please tell me it's like MXC.
It's like this full on like think like the most insane Japanese commercial you've ever seen, where like there is no follow from like 1 6-second blip to the next, and there's like things happening that would never ever make sense in any actual context, and like it's just bizarre. Like,
so his marketing campaign is essentially be as fucking stereotypical as it is humanly possible to be.
Pretty much.
Is that right?
Well,
okay.
I do like the fact that he
Except
came out
for being
and
good
said
at
that
math. I'm just saying.
we should be less involved with Israel's affairs and giving them foreign aid.
Well, yeah, because you can't afford foreign aid when you're giving 322 million people $1,000.
That is true.
Hey,
that is true.
Can you just take $1,000 less from me every month?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would be the simple solution.
Yeah.
I've come up with the most
that's still
like how do we
stimulate
stimulate the economy? Do we allow people to keep more of their money, or do we just print more money and give it to them?
Right.
Hey guys,
what's already there?
Instead of all this
or
money,
we take more of their money and then we turn around and give it back.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that, Lindsay?
Instead of all this money going into campaigning, I've come up with the most brilliant way for us to choose the next president. So you know that Japanese game show where the stairs are all slippery? We stick all of the candidates at the bottom and say the first two that hit the top and can stay up there, they win.
President, vice president, right there.
Yeah.
I was reading an article earlier about Trump, about the Republicans and Trump, and they were talking about wanting to spend $1 billion. $1 billion in 2020 to keep Trump in office, which would be 3 times what they spent in 2016.
Yeah,
when they beat Hillary. Yeah.
Well, didn't Hillary dropped $1 billion, I thought, or something like that.
I think it was like 500 something. It was a lot of fucking money though. And then
it was a lot. Because I
and then
remember
the
her
latest-
saying something about Trump blowing $1 billion, or she was like, how can a businessman lose $1 million or something like that? And then like it was like a meme, but it was that, like, her saying that, and then it was her, like, a headline of her saying like that she like blew like $1 billion on her campaign and lost.
How can you that I say as I simply set fire to a stack of money?
Yeah,
She
right?
flushed it down the fucking toilet. They all do.
Hey man, at this point I'm pretty much Joker. I'm like, I want to watch this just burn to the ground.
Just watch the world burn. Yeah.
Just all of it burn to the ground.
Collapsitarian.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a
I
meme
really
to that
want to
effect?
see-
on
Like,
the horizon, because
like
with the
that
fucking
meme when you're young, you want to be Batman, and the older you
Yeah,
get, the more you
yeah.
understand Joker and stuff.
Yeah, Joker makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
I mean, the collapse within the United States might be coming sooner than we think, with the food supply being shortened from the all the flooding out in the Midwest.
Oh yeah.
It's
See,
like,
I thought you were setting up a joke. I'm sorry. That's my.
And like 1.2 million acres of farmland or something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and a lot
how
of
much
it's been
has
like
that
covered
been
with
in
like
the
sand
news?
and silt.
How much has that
Not
been
a
in the
lot.
news?
Not enough.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of it is
Because
because
they don't want to alarm people.
well, they haven't even bothered with federal aid for the most part because they don't need to, because all the other Midwesterners who didn't get flooded out are sending stuff their way. They just sent like 300 and something big flatbed trailers full of hay.
Well, hey, yeah, the
From
Dakotas.
Wisconsin to there.
Farmers in the Dakotas and Iowa and whatnot sent it down to Nebraska and Kansas.
Yeah.
So crazy, man.
Voluntary.
Because it's funny how country people do that. They take care of their own.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know?
of course.
It's just city people that don't fucking get it.
Yep.
A lot of those people don't eat avocados too. Just saying.
And we're about to get another 27 inches.
Yeah, well,
of
22 inches of snow is what we're getting Wednesday. That's what they're
Holy
predicting.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is if you think about it, it's all flooded out now, and the fucking, like, none of the snow, like, runoff from the mountains has even, like, started yet.
No, we're having our
This is all from heavy rains.
Yeah.
And John in the comments, he says 1.5 million calves dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
He said it really stinks there.
I bet.
I would assume.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's where my mom's at right now. They crested 6 feet above flood stage.
Holy
I think 6 feet above flood stage. And you can walk from like my mom's back door to the Mississippi River in like a minute and a half. So it's just approaching, and it's like sitting right at their back door.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That's scary, man.
Yeah, the park that is down there and stuff that my siblings go to and everything is completely underwater. It's
Well, Pettibone Park, right across the river from where I work, is underwater right now. You can't see it.
Yeah, the entire island is actually underwater.
Yep.
Wow.
So oh
my god.
Tara says she'd pay money for that. I assume she's talking about Dan's leotard dance.
Yeah.
Flip it on the dark web, make double.
Yeah, boy.
And then Sarah says hi from everybody.
Hi.
She's the one that commented about my wolf last time.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to show it. Look, it's
No, don't move it. It wasn't staring at me the way you just had it.
remember the old snap bracelets? The snap bracelets?
You're gonna put it back, and it's
that's
gonna
what
be
it is.
staring at me again, Jason. God damn it. It's looking. Jason taught. Look.
Really
Do you guys see?
It's not. It's just. It says hi. God.
It's very.
You should put like eyes in it that you can move with like a fucking remote control.
Oh my God.
Next time, like,
Or
how do
just put little lights, just little LEDs in there and turn it on every so often.
I mean, you have dogs, Derica. Aren't you used to little eyes popping up underneath or by the end of the bed?
Not little ones, no.
They're not little.
No.
Her dogs are bigger than her kids.
I know.
Yeah. They are.
All three of them are the same size as Ammo.
I know.
No.
Well, Olympus is little. They are different sizes. Olympus takes more after the bulldog side than the Mastiff side. But the other two are definitely. Thanks. Sorry, Kevin was bringing me something I asked for. But the other two are definitely, they take after the Mastiff side. They're big boys. Big boys.
Ammo is like 130 pounds. So
yeah, we haven't weighed them in a long time. They've done some growing since then.
So, all right. Speaking of kids, let's get started. All right.
Children, settle down.
Yeah. All right. Wait, does that mean I talk now, or do I settle down?
You can talk,
You're an
but
adult.
I'm not going to
Go ahead.
look because that wolf is staring at me every time you're up on the screen.
All right. New Florida bill would create child vaccine database. A new bill in the Florida House of Representatives would create a database of every child and the vaccines they have or have not received. Yeah.
we are doing this for your own protection.
And you know, people are actually, the average NPC voter type is actually going to think this is a good fucking idea, and they're going to voluntarily put their names in that fucking database.
Yeah, the number of people when the unvaccinated kids or whatever got banned in public spaces, like the number of people who were just going, "Oh yay!" and I'm like, "Oh my god, you people are nuts!" Like,
it's called HB 213 or SHOTS, the State Health Online Tracking System. Filed by Dr. Ralph Masalo from Florida's 34th District in Crystal River, the new bill would require schools, both public and private, to each have students' vaccines on file with this registry. This would mandate even those citing a religious exemption to vaccines to be on file with the system. Some parents can see why. Quote, "I think that information is very important," parents Tony Moore said. In today's world where you want to have your own rights, you think your child is exempt from a disease that could kill him, that is your right.
What?
People don't. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think.
In today's world where you want to have your own rights, you think your child is exempt from a disease that could kill them, that is your right.
That does not make sense.
No. FGCU Professor of Justice Studies Pamela Sway worries where this information might end up and who could have access to it.
So that's like Orwellian, like
it's
double speak, like for fucking saying like your child's autonomy and your authority over your child does not matter in comparison to the state.
This is the like that like that's bad. Then there's this other kicker. Those who don't want their child's vaccination records on file can opt out. However, according to the bill, their name would still appear on the database regardless.
They would be in the database as an opt-out, which would automatically
it would be like flagged
infer suspicion.
Literally, like you might as well just
CPS could go in.
On the kid.
Do people never learn their fucking lesson? I mean, look, even shit like 23andMe, that was a private company, and they're still selling your fucking information to the government.
They said,
and a pharmaceutical company.
Revolutionary.
23andMe argue that they have a moral obligation to share your information with the government.
But you know what? That's bullshit. I think, the government just, do they just troll the fucking database and see if they come up with any hits that match? I mean, do they have to have a subpoena to get information from 23andMe?
No, not if it's given.
And that's bullshit, because that's fucking HIPAA information, for God's sake.
Read the fine print.
I was going to say, it's probably in the terms and conditions.
Well, the CDC can pretty much ignore HIPAA.
Right. Oh, yeah. Not that I give a fuck about laws like HIPAA or whatever, but this is the game they play by.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Claiming,
but their standards don't apply to them.
Right. That's
the hypocrisy that fucking kills me.
Yeah, even their own rules the CDC can just ignore. So something like this, now that it's been proposed, is probably going to wind up going with the CDC, and the CDC is going to go, oh yeah, that makes sense, because if we have outbreaks,
and it's going to become mandatory because it has to do with pharmaceutical bottom lines. They're going to know which communities they need to be launching fucking ad campaigns into more frequently, and what I mean.
They just shut down a Hasidic Jewish community in Rockland County, New York, because they don't vax. Because there was a measles outbreak, so they fucking quarantined them essentially.
That was the one where the city ordered. Essentially, like kids that aren't vaccinated can't come to these public places.
Yeah.
That was actually shot down yesterday or Friday. A court overturned it. Yeah, the court ruled they couldn't do it.
Gosh, and once they have this wonderful database, if there's this big outbreak, then it would technically be an emergency, and then the federal emergency management would have to come in and then start quarantining people, which they would do based on this thing, and then maybe they would do it based on geographical regions, and then just to be sure that everybody's safe, maybe they would leave them in all of these FEMA camps, and you see where this is going.
and not only that, but you could figure out who the dissidents are by who doesn't vax.
That's where I was going.
How do they catch people? That's the most important thing to me. Is you have to start carrying your fucking papers. Everybody will be under suspicion.
No, that's the thing that really worries me about things like this. Is they can look up and see who isn't cooperating with the government's policies.
Right.
Exactly.
And then they could go, oh, well, child abuse, we're taking your kids.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, look, we have your kids. You can't see it. You can't see a judge for a few days.
I feel like I've read a book that had a lot of these concepts in it. Can you guys think of what's the title of that book I'm trying to think of?
If 1984
yeah, exactly.
and Harrison Bergeron had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that baby was ultimately going to have its grandbaby, which is Agenda 21.
If that grandbaby had alcohol fetal syndrome.
No, I feel like Agenda 21 is like the grandparent of that baby, because that's how all this, that's.
No,
all of this is like
novel-wise, because Agenda 21 is Glenn Beck wrote a book called Agenda 21 that's about Agenda 21.
Oh, you were talking about the book itself.
Right, okay. Confused on if 1984 and
okay.
And then that baby would be Agenda 21.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Well, there's also Agenda 2030, which is the updated version.
Yeah, that's the updated one. And it's scary. It's really scary. So.
Yeah, it calls for pretty much militarized police on the streets of every city.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's crazy shit if you look into it.
There's a reason high school kids don't read Fahrenheit 451 anymore.
Oh yeah,
there's a reason they don't read 1984. They don't read Brave New World, and they don't read,
because they allow people like us to read it.
Yeah, exactly. They learn their lesson. They learn their lesson with us.
Can you imagine in today's schools trying to get 1984 or trying to get Fahrenheit 451 on a curriculum? Can you even begin to because those
they're trying to remove To Kill a Mockingbird.
They'd have.
They're
reclassify 1984 as nonfiction.
Oh, I saw that. They're trying to remove To Kill a Mockingbird. Racist. And I'm like,
the state of
racism
New Jersey
is the whole fucking central point of the plot of that movie, of that show, or book.
Brett says we would be wise to begin having undocumented children. Absolutely.
Yes.
And John says you guys start talking about vaccines, and the show started buffering really bad for him.
Oh, of course.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Insert shock face here.
Fuck you, NSA guy. We haven't put out a message to our NSA guy recently, have we?
Yeah. No.
It's been a couple of shows. Yeah, it's been a while.
Go fuck
but
yourself.
Fuck you, NSA guy.
So
I finished my light Russian. No more licking the bottle for our viewers.
There goes our porn.
Oh no, that was in pre-show. Never mind, they didn't see that.
You guys missed the
pre-show was wild.
And then
you
got a dad arrested for breaking traffic laws and rushing daughter to the hospital. The nurses bonded him out.
Yep.
So a group of nurses reportedly bonded a local father out of jail after he was arrested for several traffic violations while driving his daughter to the hospital. Darius Hinckley said a group of nurses bonded him out of jail after he was arrested for breaking traffic laws while rushing his 1-year-old daughter to the hospital. So
now, here's the thing that kills me. Wait just 1 second, Jason. The thing that kills me is the story primarily is about the nurses bonding him out of jail. The headlines about it, everything.
Yeah.
Why is the media not making the story about the dad who was arrested for rushing his daughter to the emergency room?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Once the cops saw him, they followed him
because the media
into
is
the emergency
on
room.
side.
Right, I know, but they followed him into the parking lot of the emergency room, and they fucking arrested him. So they knew by that point why he had been breaking traffic laws. They knew.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm sure he told them my daughter's choking on a penny. She needs, emergency medical help. They knew by that point.
But it was totally
and they
unsafe.
Still fucking arrested him.
But it was totally unsafe. But it totally was safe for them to chase after him.
Right. But they all arrived there alive, not a fucking scratch.
Exactly.
Still unsafe.
The thing is that he didn't have the medical state paper. Hinckley admitted he does not have a valid driver's license.
Not a gang member.
And he said he was speeding on the way to the hospital on Thursday, but said he did it because his 1-year-old daughter was choking on a penny.
Yeah. What do you expect a parent to do? I don't have a fucking driver's license. I don't give a shit. My kid needs to get to the hospital now.
The first thing on my mind was to get her to the hospital, Hinckley said. Hinckley said by the time he arrived at the hospital, more than a handful of police officers with different agencies were behind him. Agency was taken into custody once he arrived at the hospital. The 1-year-old's mother said she arrived at the jail when a woman she didn't recognize was there to bond Hinckley out. That's when she learned that a group of nurses chipped in money to bond the father out. I can't thank them enough, Hinckley said.
So the cops didn't know when they started chasing him. They didn't know that he didn't have a driver's license.
Yeah, they were literally.
They don't know who's driving. Right. So they saw him pull into the ER. They saw him take his daughter in.
And then they arrested him.
They still investigated enough to find out that he didn't have a driver's license. Like, why wouldn't they just, this guy was rushing his kid to the hospital. All right, moving on, fellas, and go somewhere else and, stop an actual fucking crime.
Yeah, he didn't hit anybody. He didn't, crash anybody. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
How that's physically possible if he didn't have a driver's license. Clearly, he can't possibly drive.
Right.
I don't even understand how the car started.
It's a mystery.
Yeah.
Man, that is amazing.
And if he doesn't have a driver's license, obviously he's never had one and doesn't actually know how to drive.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Because he never had one. So, I mean, people's licenses get suspended all the fucking time. That doesn't mean they don't know how to drive. Somebody's fucking rushing their kid to the hospital. Who fucking cares as long as they didn't hurt anybody on their way there?
The last of your concerns is I don't have a license, so I should probably run her there, while carrying her. You know what I mean? Or
let me just stuff her in this backpack and hang her out my back.
Here, kid, here, choking kid, hang on to the handlebars.
Yeah, exactly right.
I'll put them in the back, ET, and ride my bicycle.
It's like parental instinct. It's just your fucking your first mode of operation is just to fucking you're just thinking about getting your kid there alive. You know what I mean?
Any one of those cops would have done the exact same thing.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
I would love to hear anybody trying to defend any of these cops as just trying to make people safer and protect people when literally this guy was trying to save a life and they arrested him.
Yeah. And I'm not. I have nothing to do with this company, but I want to plug one of the things that's in the war room. You guys know the war room here at our house, our prepper room that we have down in the basement. But this brings up this item. It's called the life. Stop vaping, Andrew, you faggot. I'm trying to talk.
I can't. When you isn't working. I'm sorry. Maybe off.
Anyways, it's called the Life Vac. And if you're interested, you should check it out. It's something you should have in every medical kit. Every medicine cabinet should have one. And it's like a face mask that will literally suck out. It's a mechanical use. It's nothing electric. So it's totally mechanical, and it has a special seal. So you press down and then you can suck out anything that's obstructing someone's airway.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I have one with the child mask and the adult mask in my prepper pantry. So just in case anybody was wondering, I mean, I keep that around. It gives me a little bit of peace of mind about it.
I mean, that's kind of something, if you got kids, like, you have this really horrible tendency of picking up things. You go, why the hell did it make sense to put that in your mouth? And they're constantly choking on shit. Like, when I was like 6 years old when I choked on a quarter.
Yeah. So if you have kids, learn the Heimlich, learn CPR, and keep a life vac in your cabinet.
Tara says a parent with a kid in the car is safer driving than most cops. I would agree.
Yep.
And Sarah says it's also extremely classist because people who have to drive without a license are generally the lower or working class.
Right.
Yeah, and they probably got like tickets that they couldn't afford.
And then their license gets suspended.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's exactly why instead of going and actually doing something for, to an actual criminal, they arrested him because lowest hanging fruit, easiest, safest thing they can do.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that lowest hanging fruit is exactly what it is.
Well, and the response, I'm sure their thought process on it was the response should have been call 911.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and sit around and wait for your kid to potentially choke to death. Wait for
the ambulance
choking.
Yeah.
Think rationally about every option that you possibly.
Yeah, let's wait for the ambulance to get to you from the hospital after the 911 and all that processing.
Yeah.
Instead of just driving her to the hospital.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little different for us because we live so rural and there's no hospitals around here. So what our county has is called rescue squads. And they're like the fire and ambulance local. Yeah, a lot of it is local. Some of them are paid, but most of it's volunteer. So it's like ambulances and fire, and the ambulances will come and get you, and they only they're only like 5 minutes away. The hospital's 40 minutes. So it makes sense for us to just call for an ambulance if we need it, because the paramedics can get to us faster than we can get to the hospital. But most people don't put a lot of effort into mapping these things out in their communities.
No, because people rely on the government.
Right. So something happens and they're just running on instinct. They don't already have a plan in place for if something like that were to happen. And then they make fun of those of us who have a plan in place for fucking everything.
Well, yeah, and they love to make fun of preppers, and they love to pretend that people who are.
What are you scared of?
Yeah, what are you so scared of? Well, fucking nothing, because I'm prepared for it, asshat.
Right, I don't have to be scared of anything.
Same
and
reason
then when
to carry
shit
a gun.
hits the fan, they'll be the first ones to your place, like, save me.
Yeah, exactly. The moment that there's ever any kind of like major natural disaster or anything like that, preppers are going, well, I'm glad I was prepared, and everyone's coming to their house going, help me, I was unprepared. Well, you know what was it, the ant and the cricket or whatever? The
all
ant
you
and
have to
grasshopper, terrible.
You know what? Y'all motherfuckers never watched Tremors, and it shows. Who really saved the day?
Do you really need a 50 caliber?
Yeah, that's the ant and the grasshopper.
Yeah, Reba McEntire really saved the day because she was a prepper. Her and her husband were preppers in that movie.
I love that every single gun on that wall in that scene is loaded.
Fucking elephant gun.
Yeah.
I know. And they had they made pipe bombs in their fucking basement to kill the monsters because they were prepared, people. They were fucking prepared.
Yeah, okay, I'm crazy for collecting explosives and large caliber weapons, but when the graboids show up, then who will be sorry? Huh?
That's right.
Exactly.
I love that movie, man. I watched that movie so many times when I was younger.
All right, what article are we getting to?
I don't know.
We can do the one on the guy that was doing
The vehicle recovery?
vehicle recovery or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the guy in Alaska.
Yeah. Anchorage man who hunts stolen vehicles agrees to plea deal barring him from chasing suspects.
This story just
An Anchorage man facing a criminal charge over his hobby of finding and recovering stolen vehicles has reached a plea agreement with the prosecutors. According to the deal reached last week, brings the 19-month court battle to an end. He says it also takes aim at his crime fighting. Floyd Hall, 54, spends most of his free time searching for stolen vehicles as part of a loosely defined group of vehicle recoverers who call themselves the A-Team. They rely on public tips.
I love that. That's fucking awesome.
They rely on public tips gathered from a network of social media groups. In 2017, Hall's activities put him on the wrong side of the law when an alleged high-speed chase involving a stolen truck he was pursuing brought him 1 count of reckless driving. Hall then...
But did you die?
Yeah.
Come on, government. Did you die?
On the wrong side of the law. He was on the right side of everything. The law is on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, rather than accept the misdemeanor charge, Hall, who said he was following, not chasing the truck, waged battle in the court for 19 months before reluctantly agreeing to a plea deal on Tuesday. Quote, I think people have the right to maintain a safe and civil society, said Hall's pro bono attorney Joshua Fink. That's an unfortunate name for a lawyer.
I called Slinky a Fink today. That's
awesome. I think people have a right to maintain a safe and civil society, said Hall's pro bono attorney Joshua Fink. Quote, police don't have the exclusive right to that. With the reckless driving charge downgraded to 1 count of reckless endangerment, Hall's final penalty shakes out to 30 days in jail, with 30 days suspended, with in practice, which means no jail time at all, and a $1,000 fine with $500 suspended. That means if he commits another jailable offense, he'll be up to the $500. The seasonally employed snowplow driver will have 3 years to pay the fine.
Seasonally employed snowplow driver. That's just awesome. Did anybody else watch, what was that new Liam Neeson movie where he was a seasonally employed snowplow driver? That's the picture that I get in my mind of this guy.
Well, yeah, chasing down criminals who steal vehicles. So
Yeah.
I don't know who you are and I don't know what you want, but what I have is a very particular set of skills.
There's a caveat, though. He has to stop chasing stolen vehicles. The wording of the agreement is key, said Fink. Originally, the prosecutors...
Stop emphasizing his name.
At least he's a pro bono Fink.
He's a free Fink.
Stop me.
Originally, prosecutors requested that Hall not be allowed to, quote, chase, follow, or otherwise pursue suspected stolen vehicles during his 3-year probation. But when Fink rejected the offer, prosecutors scaled it back down to just chasing. The difference, Fink said, is, quote, the high rate of speed. The plea deal isn't likely to have much of an impact on the A-Team's activities, since most of their recovery operations don't require them to follow, much less chase a stolen vehicle, Hall said.
Right.
Still, Hall is keenly aware of the scrutiny the plea deal places him under, even if he has no intention of chasing his crime or of ceasing his crime-fighting efforts. Quote, it's a burden off my shoulders in a way, but 3 years, I sort of have to dot my I's and cross my T's.
So this guy's like a blend of Liam Neeson and Kick-Ass.
Yeah, one more.
That's fucking awesome.
The way Hall tells it, he was, quote, bullied into accepting the plea agreement. Not agreeing to the deal would have meant an additional 2 counts of reckless endangerment added to the existing reckless driving charge, his attorney said.
That's exactly what they do, too. It's the shotgun legality. They keep throwing things at you until they intimidate you enough that you give up.
Yeah, or they wait you out. They leverage, the fact that you can't live your life suspended forever, and they fucking wait you out, and they keep continuing and continuing.
That's what they did to get my plea deal. Was they made me sit there for 18 months waiting.
That's what they did to Jeremy too.
Yeah, and they just left it sitting, and like no one's gonna hire you, and you obviously lost your job because you went to jail for a while. So no one's gonna hire you if you have this possibility of going to jail again and everything. And like 18 months, I don't care how much savings you have. The average person is either going to be able to afford a lawyer that's going to get them out of that, or if they can't afford it, then they're just fucked at that point. They're going to have to give up, and they're going to have to give in. And that's what they know, is they can take forever. Like, it's the injustice system for a reason.
Yeah.
Captain Sean Case, the commander of the patrol division for the Anchorage Police Department, said that while agencies appreciate the information from the public and regularly partners with community watch groups, it draws a line when citizens might harm themselves. Quote, you don't know a suspect's criminal history. You don't know how violent they are. You don't know if they're armed. While officers don't go out...
I'll be armed. I mean, shit. Quit fucking disarming me.
I'll be armed and I'll wear body armor. Problem solved. Like,
I believe Alaska is a constitutional carry state also. While officers don't go out search for individual stolen vehicles, they do run vehicle information through a statewide database while they are doing patrols, which means they have license plate cameras. Yeah. So yeah, they essentially arrested this guy because he didn't have a special fucking badge and a special fucking costume.
They arrested him. That was their excuse. But what they arrested him for was because he was doing their job better than them.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I was just going to say that.
We're heroes because of what we do, but it's illegal for you to do what we do. We're the only ones who are allowed to be heroes.
Yeah, but we won't even do it.
Yeah, exactly. Stop fucking making us look bad. Yeah, exactly. And then they're like, "Oh, if somebody steals your car, call a crackhead."
Yeah. A crackhead has financial incentive.
I tried to call the crackhead, but he wouldn't give it back. That's who fucking stole it.
Yeah.
Fucking crackhead, a couple of beers, and this guy will come find it for you.
For real, dude. Crackhead.
Sure as shit.
Like cops say that they shoot people out of fucking fear of their life, but this dude's fucking not even a trained police officer or whatever, and he's fucking way more fucking brave than they are.
The guy just looks like he'd be really fucking...
Oh yeah, he looks gruff, dude.
Right? It's he looks like Dan in 20 years.
Right?
Yeah, that dude
he looks like Dan
with less gray hair.
He looks like Dan in the Slayer meme.
The gayer.
Gayer.
Dude, that had so many layers. That meme took me forever because it had so many fucking layers. What app
did you use to make it?
Oh, like 3 different fucking apps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
He has a giant cock on his shirt too, by the way. Oh,
nice.
It's a rooster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you
know that dude's got a huge cock. I mean, he's chasing fucking criminals around doing vigilante justice.
I'm pretty sure you're allowed to have a giant cock.
Yeah, literally Batman. Literally Batman.
Well, I mean, you see that fucking beard? That's not a beard you fuck with. Look at that dude.
Nah, dude.
He doesn't
the
even.
The only way that beard could be more badass is if it were red. Right, Andrew?
Yeah, exactly. And also occasionally somewhat gray in certain
white
places.
And black.
Yeah,
well, it's got a little white in it too, I'll admit it. But
dude, Kevin did a beard growing contest at work once, and the only award that he won was Captain Rainbow Beard because he has all these different colors.
Yeah, I'm like he's got the cool leather jacket and the beard.
Yeah, right.
And the old man eyes is just...
he's got the eyes of a man who, like, starts telling a story and then goes, I don't want to talk about this no more. And
is that jacket a Langlets, though?
I've seen some shit, saying. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Like,
that's my... Like, I would buy that guy a beer just to hear him talk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's probably got the what's his name, the guy from who's the cowboy in Big Lebowski in the bowling alley.
Oh yeah. I
What
know
is
who you're
his
talking
name?
about. Oh, fuck.
But he's got that kind of voice. I can almost guarantee it. We just look
Like
at
the
exactly.
John Candy voice, or no,
what?
what is
No,
it? John Goodman.
no, Sam.
Oh, that guy.
Oh, what's his name?
Yeah.
He does a lot of I think he does like Ford commercials or Chevy commercials or something now.
How about Sam Elliott?
Sam
Yeah,
Elliott.
there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
him.
Yeah.
That's the kind of voice that dude looks like he has. Like you look at him and he's just gonna be like guts,
It's just
glory, ram.
like gravel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. like I said, he doesn't even need to be armed. Like he can just glare. You
Yeah.
don't want to do that, son. And everyone's gonna be like, "I'm sorry."
I loved him in like Ghost Rider. He was so good in the Ghost Rider movies.
Mm.
Yeah, as the former Ghost Rider, the
Yeah.
one who got away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was good.
So
So. All right, what do we got next?
I don't know. Let's see. Oh, let's go to Derica's article because she loves this article.
Yeah.
But wait, before we move on, I'd just like to say that that's probably how justice would get dealt out in a free society. You know what I mean? Like people
Yeah.
would be employed to do like
Really?
like bounty hunter work, like that kind of shit.
And they'd probably be paid by your fucking insurance.
By the insurance companies, yeah.
They would probably be actually most likely part of the insurance companies. The insurance companies would have property recovery units that were there to get it back.
Right.
Because if they can get it back to you, they don't have to pay you for it. And if they don't, and they have to pay you and then eventually recover it, well, now they get to just turn around and sell that and make their money back. So
Right.
Hey,
It's
you
almost
guys,
in their best interest.
we have an actual troll in the comments.
Nice.
Yeah, Raul Gunter, and he says, "I think Trump is Jesus," and then he says, "See his commitment, religious attitude, patriotism. Trump really made me cry out. Even he's a feminist, true feminist. He got a plan for the women's. So Trump, hallelujah."
Is that women's with a Y?
I hope so.
No,
If it's
no.
Damn it.
I was really hoping. You know,
and what I'm thinking the whole time you're reading that is you're saying all this like it's a good thing.
And then it's a question mark. That says, I'm just telling the truth. Or I'm just telling a truth.
all I can see right now in my head.
He gave me a mad face.
Mike,
emoji.
Mike Pompeo did say that Trump was gonna like save Israel or something like that.
Did he miss did this commenter miss the name of the podcast?
I feel honestly right now. I feel I keep seeing Zoidberg in my head with the boo. You're throwing it bad, and you should feel bad.
In fact, I'm a gay but Christian, and it says Jesus was gay like me.
A gay butt Christian.
A gay butt Christian. I didn't know they were butt Christian.
So he's a bottom, is what he's saying. That's, more information than I needed, but more power to you, bro.
All right, I'm
not my
done.
place to judge. As long as you're not hurting anybody, we don't give a fuck.
Yep. As long as you're not from Duke University.
Yeah.
Duke University to pay
we go.
$112.5 million settlement for faked research.
I love this fucking story.
Oh, but
You guys are fucking
Right in the Duke.
All right.
This story gave me ideas.
All right, gay-alleluia.
Hallelujah.
All right, I had to comment. Duke University agreed to a deal Monday that required them to repay the federal government $112.5 million to settle claims that falsified scientific research at the taxpayers' expense. The prestigious private
Don't die.
It's a government conspiracy. He starts talking about it immediately.
Yeah.
the prestigious
Chemtrails made Jason cough.
Oh,
there you go.
That's what I get for using a plastic straw. The
And a
prestigious
30 round magazine.
He finally got cancer from the windmill noise.
He's inhaled too many cow farts. That shit will
That's
rot your
what
brain.
The prestigious private school in Durham, North Carolina, said it will take an additional steps on quote research integrity, and says it's already has implemented more monitoring of research in the wake of the scandal, which involved a health researcher and her supervisors.
So she was falsifying information on grant
that's the
applications.
Okay. A whistleblower said Duke falsified research on nearly $200 million worth of grants, and he will collect nearly $34 million for his role in uncovering the fraud.
That's my favorite part of this article.
Yeah, $34 million.
I'm in the wrong fucking business.
Yeah,
I gotta get into one of these fucking university laboratories and start blowing the whistle.
Prosecutors said spanned from 2006 to 2018 and involved money from the National Institute of Health and the Environmental Protection Agency. The chief researcher at the center of the scandal, Erin Potts-Cant, had more than a dozen papers stemming from her work on mice retracted. Prosecutors said the school higher-ups knew about her fraudulent research, but allowed it to continue. The school has
her last name is Cant.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. Is her last name was
it's hyphenated. It's Potts-Cant. Yeah, the school contended it didn't learn until later. Quote, individuals and institutions that receive research funding from the federal government must be scrupulous in conducting research for the common good and rigorous in rooting out fraud, said Matthew G.T. Martin, the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District, North Carolina. Quote, may this serve as a lesson that the use of false or fabricated data in grant applications or reports is completely unacceptable.
How about you start looking at false and fabricated information in the fucking reports in your precinct? I'm just saying, it would be a little hypocritical if you didn't.
Yeah. Let's see. The whistleblower, former Duke employee Joseph Thomas, will get $33.75 million from the settlement, the federal government said. Duke is dealing with a different research scandal dating back more than a decade. The Associated Press reported Duke medical professor Anil Poti engaged in misconduct while researching treatment in human cancer patients. Ms. Poti's studies were published in top medical journals, including the New England Journal of Medicine and Lancet Oncology between 2006 and 2009.
So let's put on the tinfoil hats for a second. I just read a lot of studies. I posted them on my Facebook page. All I said was, this is interesting, but I need to go back and find it. But somebody put together a whole post with studies that childhood illnesses that we vaccinate for now, some of them protect against certain cancers. And so now we have, under these government grants, falsified research about cancers and things like. So what you gotta, this is rabbit hole tinfoil hat territory.
It's settled science, Derica.
Wait,
I know.
You were saying that some of the vaccines cause cancer? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm saying that there's studies. In a roundabout way, but there's studies that these childhood illnesses like measles and mumps and things like that actually do things to your immune system and your body that protect it against certain cancers in the future.
If you survive the illnesses in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, most of them aren't deadly, not in today's, at least in first world countries.
Well, I mean, some of them still, like polio, for instance, can still kill you.
The thing with the polio vaccine, though, is that they were given that, if you look it up,
it's not even the same vaccine.
It was called, there was a simian virus that was in the, I think it was like the original polio vaccine or whatever, and they were giving it to people, and it gave like I think almost 1 million people like cancer because of it.
Well, Jesus. I mean, Jonas Salk wasn't Jesus, so
yeah, it was called SV40. If anybody wants to look it up,
I'm just saying that there's if you really want to put the tinfoil hat on, this is a rabbit hole you could fall down and never reach the bottom of.
Based on those sirens, Derek, I think maybe you should watch what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. No, that's just, we just live by one of the main like roads through our little rural county. So every time the cops need to go anywhere, they're driving down our road.
But yeah, like as Derek said about the rabbit hole thing, like this puts like if I mean this was from like 2006 to 2018, right? So it's like 12 years of medical research that has to be questioned, right?
Yeah.
And if they did this and got caught, who's to say others didn't get caught?
Exactly.
Right. So now,
Exactly.
Who's to say they didn't lie about global warming, vaccines, fucking?
Yeah. Who's to
you
say
name
that
it.
this
You name
wasn't?
it.
Who's to say that they weren't falsifying this research at the government's behest?
Yeah, exactly.
But when the whistleblower you blew the whistle, you know, the government had to fucking have like plausible deniability.
The government is not going to give a grant to somebody that continually proves the government wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, or that continually proves things that the government doesn't like.
Well, they give them like a final outcome of what's desired, and then they're like, all right, make it, you know, so that it fits this narrative essentially.
Or even if it's not like intently directed by the government, how many researchers kind of know that the government only gives grants to people whose research promotes their agendas?
Yeah, exactly.
And so people fudge the research to get the grant.
Yeah, well, you remember a few months ago we did that article about the guy at the University of Portland or whatever it was.
Yeah, with the fake papers.
He copied and pasted Mein Kampf.
Yeah.
And changed some of the words, like feminist buzzwords, and got it printed and accredited.
Published. It was
just to prove a point.
It was published in a peer-reviewed journal, and it's literally
that's like the greatest troll of ever, like all time, dude. It's so far.
It is.
I mean, you gotta call everything into question at this point.
Well, and you should anyway. But I mean, keep in mind too that, you know, my question is, why is he getting a bunch of money out of the settlement? Was it because he was denied grants in favor of her?
Well, there's a reward structure for people who...
It's a whistleblower reward.
Right, who provide valuable information to, like, the fraud, waste, and abuse, you know, committees and shit like that. Like, there's a reward structure in place for people to get like a percentage of whatever the government recovers. It's supposed to encourage people to report abuses.
Yeah, like they report to like the GOA and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the GAO who's, you know, responsible.
But no,
that's like the
I
biggest,
love
like,
that
fucking,
entire organization is the biggest fucking oxymoron on the
planet. That's what I was just gonna say. Government Accountability Office.
Yes.
You want to laugh to say it.
To this point, though, like you have to manipulate your results, because look at the guys who the economists who do Freakonomics and Super Freakonomics and stuff. They basically cannot get grants anymore because of one study that they did on car seats, where they found that statistically car seats, despite being legally mandated for kids between one age and another, I don't remember offhand, you'd have to go and look at the study or get the book and actually read, I know, which is horrifying, but
it's different in every state. But
but the two of them make this point that they actually did this massive study on car seats and survivability, and what they actually found is that statistically, once your kid's basically a toddler, car seats do literally nothing. They don't improve survivability. They don't reduce injuries. They do absolutely nothing. And what they found is that the reason for that is because the method of installing them, because they're not integrated to the vehicle, doesn't provide any actual appreciable benefit. And they compared that with built-in car seats that are part of the vehicle, and those do improve survivability. And they took that research and they went to the NTSB and said, hey, this is pretty alarming. I think maybe we should look at something and we should try and change something. And the head of the NTSB, I shit you not, and it's in the book and it's on their website, sent them a letter back that said, and then also published a press release when they went public with it that said, I don't care what their science has to say. I'm here to tell you that car seats work.
Well, yeah, because you got to keep the illusion of safety alive, kind of like the government, you know.
Because they were shattering the security here, they were shattering that illusion, and so now because of that, government won't give them grants to do other research lest they prove that other laws are useless.
Oh yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Federal law requires the government to reward whistleblowers with a percentage of the money that it recovers as a result of their tip. Whistleblowers may receive up to 30% of the total monetary recovery as a reward.
Right.
This
guy is making $34 million.
Yeah, he essentially 30%.
Yeah.
Of the 112, yeah.
So I need to start becoming a professional whistleblower.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
No shit.
Holy
shit. I only have to strike gold once.
Yeah.
In the
and at that point, I mean, it's like
doesn't your husband work for the federal government?
Change it from the inside.
Yeah, I got a recruiting email from the U.S. Census the other day, and I kind of started laughing.
I saw your message.
Because I'm like, seriously? And you look at their requirements, and it includes like a in-depth background check and stuff. And I'm like, why are you even sending me this email? I'm not gonna pass that.
Yeah.
Andrew, what's the name of that book that you mentioned?
Freakonomics, or Super. It's either in Freakonomics or Super Freakonomics. I can't remember which one it's in.
Okay. Sarah asked in the comments.
Yeah, it's one of those two books. Both of them are definitely worth a read. They're the same guys who also found that a pimp does more economic benefit to a hooker than a real estate agent does to a person selling their house. Yeah, it's especially if you're an economics geek like I am. I talked to them once a number of years ago, and they had said like, yeah, we're making economics sexy again. But they are. They like you read those books and it really gets you into economics. Those are actually the books that got me into economics in the first place. Because starting to analyze stuff like that started to get really, really interesting. But they are Austrian economists, so they're very much human action and things based off of that. So all of their stuff
very much not approved by the U.S. government for grants.
Oh, yeah, the government's constantly getting pissed at them for figuring out the things that the government says are completely wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure. And proving it, like not just saying it, not just talking about philosophy or economic principles, but fucking proving it with data that the government is wrong. Yeah.
Yep, hardcore data, and that just it blows my mind that you could go and like they didn't even go because at the time it's not like they're anarchists. Like don't misunderstand, they're Austrian economists, but that doesn't mean that they're anarchists.
Yeah.
And
although if you're an Austrian economist, how are you not a fucking anarchist by now?
Well, or at least I guess they're not openly anarchists.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the time, they went immediately to the NTSB to go, hey, seriously, this is a problem. Like, we need to be concerned. It wasn't just, oh, fuck your laws. It was what can we do to fix this? And he just disregarded everything that they had to say, all of their research, and was like, nope, they work. Are you serious?
This is a pretty common theme with politicians, though. AOC, it's more important to be morally right than factually correct.
Yeah.
Right. Or the other, morally correct than factually right, or whatever she said.
When she talks, all I hear is wah, 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 and me wanting to play with her titties.
Yeah, I usually hear a donkey just,
what was I going to say? Yeah,
I don't see her as that attractive, but I mean, one, I'm a woman, and two, if somebody's fucking retarded, I can't be attracted to them. I'm sorry. You have to be intelligent. So,
some of us are shallow.
Yeah. Well, you mean like half the population, the half with dicks? I get it.
I'm sorry.
I'm the only female in my
There is
house.
something to be said about a ball
Shots
gag.
fired.
What was that, Lindsay?
I said, I'm sorry, Derica, but there is something to be said about a ball gag.
True.
They're real handy. Like, how aren't you an adorable lady? Shut up.
Yeah. Okay, I kind of get it, I guess.
This next one, it's a lot like the guy that got arrested for driving his daughter to the hospital, to the ER. It'll be the good part, it'll be the happy part, the good part, and then the reason why they had to do the other part, and then so we'll get happy and then we'll get angry.
Okay.
Oh yay, my favorite combination.
Yeah.
Lancaster community steps up to help veteran couple with home repairs. This is Lancaster, Ohio, by the way. Anna Crawford wasn't expecting such an outpouring of support from her community. She spent most of the weekend responding to dozens of phone calls, emails, and visits from people who wanted to help her and her husband Bill repair their Lancaster home to keep them from going to jail. Yes, to keep
going to jail. Oh.
All right. Quote, I wasn't expecting all of this, Anna Crawford said Tuesday. It's all turned out to be wonderful. This is the part where we start getting angry. All right. The Crawfords received a notice from the city of Lancaster last year that they needed to repaint their 100-year-old home. Anna, 69, and Bill, 74, are Navy retirees living mostly on their military pensions. The couple knew their house needed a lot of work. They lived in a Victorian-era house on North Columbus Street for 35 years. But at their age, Anna Crawford said, if they can't do the work, it often doesn't get done because they generally can't afford to pay someone else to do it. When the Crawfords didn't get their house painted in the city's 30-day time frame, they were charged with first-degree misdemeanors, punishable by up to 6 months in jail or a $1,000 fine.
Misdemeanors because their house was the wrong color.
Because
their house wasn't
because it was peeling.
It was peeling, yeah. Then when
what gives the city the fucking right?
Then when Anna Crawford accidentally missed her court date on Friday, she was arrested for failing to appear and spent the night in Fairfield County Jail.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Your house's paint is really old. You're disabled, so they're threatening you with jail.
69-year-old disabled military veteran.
And so they're going to throw you in jail.
Yes.
And then when you forget to show up once to this court date.
That's the thing.
Actually, that's not even true. I read this article the first round. Mm-hmm. What actually happened is they started, because they would show up together, they started scheduling their court dates separately. She went to the wrong one.
Yep.
Oh my God.
That's what it is they showed up together, and then the court gave them another hearing, but gave them separate hearings. And she showed up at the wrong one. So she missed hers and showed up at the other one.
To intentionally fuck them over.
Yep.
Yes. The Crawfords have been trying to do as much of their work as they can since then. They decided their new house color would be, quote, Civil War gray. Anna Crawford said, quote, because that's what this whole thing has felt like. The couple has been taking advantage of the milder weather to scrape off the peeling blue paint. That was until Gina Mantos woke up early on Saturday and saw the Dispatch's article about the Crawfords. Gina and her husband Logan own Turnkey Remodeling, which they started with the intention of helping people in need. Quote, I called Logan and said, where are you? You need to go to Columbus Street right now, said Gina Mantos, who lives in Fairfield County Village of Thurston. Logan Mantos drove up and down the street until he found the Crawford's house, where Anna Crawford opened the door to find Logan offering to do the work for free. She was overwhelmed. Quote, it's just astonishing. Gina and Logan Mantos said they try to do as many community projects as they can. Every month, their company does one free renovation for a family in need.
That's awesome.
That is really awesome.
Really fucking
Their
awesome.
business isn't the only one helping out. They posted a request on Facebook for other volunteers and donations, asking for everyone to gather at the Fairfield County grounds on Sunday. More than 100 people showed up.
Nice.
Wow.
The projects will be done over 3 weekends, and Gina Mantos estimated that the materials alone will cost $60,000, much of which will be donated.
This is like Extreme Makeover Home Edition,
yeah.
but
and-
like it's entirely just the community doing it.
Yeah,
Not for
instead of paint, the Crawford
ratings.
house will get new siding, so the couple won't have to worry as much about upkeep. The local landscaping companies doing yard work. New windows, doors, and a porch are going in too.
Nice.
Nice.
That is
That's awesome.
amazing.
How do you
Now, what do you want to bet that the county's going to send an assessor out?
Oh,
and
yep.
fucking start charging them more tax because their property value went up.
Yep, completely
course.
figure out a way to bone them anyway.
Yeah. One thing will stay the same though. Anna Crawford said the house is still going to be gray.
Now, how do they not like, as a cop, how do you not feel like a total piece of shit? Like,
Yeah. Like, how do you
enforcing
fucking
that?
sleep at night?
Like,
I didn't
yeah,
want
right?
to, but I did.
Summoned,
That's
the judge that ordered her be arrested, the people that initially
them too.
sent them, the ticket, whatever, in the first place, like that
Complaints. I'm sure they
This
sent the
paint is
ticket because of
peeling.
complaints.
Fucking Christ, people.
The paint is peeling on their house, on their property.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, fuck you very much.
Yeah.
Seriously, man. People are such like busybody motherfuckers, man. It's just like mind your own goddamn business.
There are people. Our next door neighbor, he buys and sells like tuner cars, right? So like little four bangers, whatever.
Yeah.
But so
he's probably got a
period.
bunch of cars.
Well, normally he's got them when he has them on the trailer. He's got them in the back of the house where you can't see them, and that's completely under city ordinance, and no one cares. And anyway, but so he's got them back there. The other day he had to park it out front overnight because it was too dark for him to back in. So he just parked it out front. And one of the other neighbors, and I still don't know any of our neighbors except for him for the most part. Yeah, and one other lady that's on the other side of him. But somebody was on their cell phone outside, and when I went to go and leave in my truck, there was a local cop parking enforcement writing a ticket for him to sit in front of his own house, and he wasn't in anyone's way. I know because I'm his next door neighbor, and I'm parked out in front of my place, right? So, like, and he's not in anyone's way at all. He's entirely parked in front of his own property, and it's been less than 24 hours that this thing's been sitting there, and they write him a ticket for having it out there.
Yeah, it's an eyesore, and they got to be a fucking citizen hero, you know? For turning somebody in for having their shit parked in front of their own fucking place.
How dare the
so
citizens of this? Yeah, how dare the citizens of this city think that they can lead normal lives out in the open where everybody can see it?
Well, and the thing is, it's not like the car itself had been taken off of the trailer and was left sitting there in disrepair. It's strapped to the trailer that's still attached to the truck.
It's not like it was on cinder blocks or anything.
Yeah, like it's clearly only there temporarily, and you freaking busybody piece of shit. You had to call.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so
I hate sticklers like that, man.
I went back to the other article because Lindsay mentioned it, but I want to bring it up. The couple appeared together December 11th in Fairfield Municipal County Court for their arraignment. Because they went to court together the first time, they figured they would for their pretrial hearing also. But Anna and Bill didn't realize that, though they are co-defendants, they were assigned separate court dates moving forward. On February 12th, a week after Anna's assigned court date, Lancaster police arrested her for missing her court date. She had thought she was supposed to be in court later that month, which was actually her husband's court date.
Jesus.
And the only reason that they escaped, because they're co-defendants, the only reason that they would have scheduled them separately was to try and get them in trouble.
Yeah, of course.
There's no other motivation for it. Because it's the same case. They're co-defendants in the exact same case. There is literally no reason to change that other than trying to screw them over.
And they love trying to do shit like that to people.
The cop who arrested me said, "Gosh, I don't want to come get you," Anna said.
Then fucking don't.
But he still fucking did.
That's what happens when you sacrifice your more personal moral agency to the almighty government, right? That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, there's Anna spent one night in Fairfield County Jail. It's an outcome that her attorney, James Linhan, said should have been avoided. Quote, most people would think there are safeguards in place to make certain that a 69-year-old woman who's living on military pension would not go to jail for failing to paint her house. But this case shows that those safeguards are insufficient.
No, there's no safeguards just because you're old. In fact, they're more likely to friend you because, again, you're low-hanging fruit.
Lancaster's Code Enforcement Department performed 5,200 total inspections last year.
Wow.
Motherfuckers.
5,200, and it's how big is Lancaster?
Not that big.
Like, it can't be that big.
Oh, look it up.
Because when I hear Lancaster, I think Lancaster, Wisconsin, and that's like 1,500 people.
I thought Lancaster, Pennsylvania. But,
that's what I thought too.
Lancaster, Ohio is 40,280.
40,000 people, and they did how many?
5,200.
5,200. So
basically 1 in 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an eighth of the population.
I can't even. Really? You've been pieces of shit?
Right.
It's one thing if, like, the house is clearly falling apart and you're concerned for people's safety legitimately, like, oh, your roof is about to come in on you or something.
They're probably just like, it's an eyesore.
As the census of 2010, there were 38,780 people living in 16,048 households. So, literally like 1 in 3.
So it was like a third.
Yeah.
It was a third.
1 in 3 people was victimized by these people in the past 12 months. I mean,
that makes sense because all 40,000 people wouldn't have their own individual house.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. And people volunteered $60,000 worth of material.
That's awesome, though.
To fix up these people's house.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
How often does that happen? I mean, realistically, it's not like that's something you can rely on.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Like, they went up above and beyond.
Which one person was pissed off in that town about that house.
Yeah, there was one. Yeah, just look around and figure out which household didn't show up to volunteer, and that's probably the person who fucking called.
Exactly, dude.
Yep, $60,000 of material and 100 people volunteering. They could get some shit done quick.
Yeah,
it's fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
it is.
That's the
beautiful side of humanity.
Yeah.
Well, and that's how you defeat government long term. That's how you render it irrelevant. Is you care about each other, you take care of each other, and you suddenly government doesn't even need to exist. It never has any relevance anymore, and it's just going to go away.
Well, yeah, Carol Quigley said, there's a quote from Carol Quigley where he said something about once the people start taking their own welfare like into their own hands, then it'll render the government and the elites useless.
Yeah, well, to paraphrase Ben Stone, he says that as long as there's a market demand for the state will exist.
Yeah, it's true.
So
people don't know anything else. That's why.
No, it's the familiar brand, as you said. It's Kraft. It's Tide. It's Ford. It's their
Johnson and Johnson.
It's what Grandma and Grandpa used.
Yep.
Well, not only that, but we're like marinated in it from birth.
Yep.
Well, you're indoctrinated for 12 years if you go to public school in it.
No, I would argue it's even more than that because your parents were indoctrinated also.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So it's 15 years. It's until you move out.
It's from the cradle, really. Yeah.
Yep. So
wasn't there a politician who was saying something about how the state should just raise the children, that like you should sacrifice give your child to the state? selectively raised.
That's
Wasn't that a?
21.
That's pretty
Hillary
much what the
Clinton
fucking
said that parents.
left.
She said that parents play a secondary role in raising children.
Yeah, that
takes a village.
Your children belong to society or something like that.
Yeah, which is straight up Agenda 21.
Yeah.
Well, that was the whole motivation behind breaking up the family unit, was so that the state could get control of the children.
Yes.
Section 8 did more to break up the American family unit than almost anything else.
Yeah, well, LBJ's Great Society Act was what, it incentivized single motherhood, and then you saw the illegitimacy rates amongst minority communities go through the roof when they actually had same or higher legitimacy rates than white people did.
When they're not exterminating themselves in the womb, when they're not exterminating their children.
Well, yeah, that's when the whole abortion thing came online too, and Margaret Sanger was for weeding out the minorities.
Yeah,
I was going to say, Margaret
literally called them human
that
weeds.
was her goal. Yeah,
and it wasn't just minorities, of course. She was an elitist as well.
Well, yeah, she was eugenics across the board, but yeah. But no, she said, she pretty much she was down with the KKK and shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and she was like, well, the best way to get rid of them is to get them to just kill themselves and wipe them out.
Voluntarily.
And that way they'll never fight back against it because they're doing it to themselves.
Right, and they'll think that it's their right, and it makes them empowered.
Yeah.
Well, and look at every single one of those things that you saw. It's starting in earnest, kind of starting in the early 1900s, and then you saw a resurgence of it in the 60s, and all of this push from all of the progressives and things and the elites that is now all coming to fruition. It's all happening exactly the way they wanted it to. It's all rolling out exactly the way they wanted it to. And all of those of us who go, hey, this is what's happening. This is exactly what they wanted. You're destroying yourselves. Oh, we're the crazy ones.
Yeah. Yeah. People need to read Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky. Yeah. The guy was
that's like the left's fucking handbook.
Insane, but that's their playbook.
Mm-hmm.
He dedicated that to Lucifer, as far as I remember.
Jesus.
Yeah. All right. Since we're on kids now, or on the subject of kids now, young people on amphetamines for ADHD have twice the psychosis risk compared to other stimulants.
Look at my shocked face.
Yeah, the first thing that popped into my mind when I read that was Adam Lanza and James Holmes and Nicholas Cruz.
Yeah.
Well, you also have to take into
Dylan
account
Roof.
that most of those people were also on SSRI, antidepressant medications too. Because you can look up SSRI shooting.com or something like that, and it's a whole fucking database of all these mass shootings that have taken place that all the shooters were on that shit.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were probably on that too, the ADHD stuff too.
The amphetamines,
Teens and young adults with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, who receive amphetamines such as Adderall. Such as Adderall for treatment have a higher risk of developing psychosis compared to those who receive methylphenidate stimulants such as Ritalin, according to a large new study. Using two national insurance claim database, the officers followed 221,486 teens and young adults ages 13 to 25 with ADHD who were prescribed a stimulant for the first time between the years 2004 2015. Half received amphetamines such as Adderall, the other received methylphenidates such as Ritalin.
Go figure, you start feeding people essentially meth.
Yeah.
And they start acting like meth heads. Fucking shocker.
Yeah, total of
Ritalin's still derived of the similar stuff?
Oh, Ritalin is literally the chemical makeup is literally on par with meth.
It's about a single atom different.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's about it.
So then what's the difference between Adderall and Ritalin? Because I feel like it's the same thing.
I think it's very similar, but I think it might be a different chemical makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the amphetamine part of methamphetamine, essentially.
Yeah. A total of 343 of the teens and young adults who were followed or 1 out of every 660 young people, developed an episode of psychosis in the few months after starting on the stimulant. The risk of this is rare, but serious side effect was twice as high, 0.21% or 0.21% for those taking amphetamine compared to 0.1% for those taking the methylphenidate, according to the research published Wednesday in the New England Journal of Medicine. So the kids that took
Now, here's a
so the
go
kids
ahead.
that took Ritalin were twice as likely to develop
Psychosis.
or the kids that took Adderall were twice
Right.
as likely as the kids that took Ritalin.
So here's a question. Everybody associates school shooters with white kids.
Uh-huh.
What is the rate for like white kids being prescribed these
Oh, it's way high.
medications
Way high.
compared to black kids or Latino kids or Asian kids? You know?
My niece and
And-
nephew were on it, and I told my sister, I was like, get them off of that shit. Because she didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? She thought that, like, it was something, like, you know, because she just trusted the doctor or whatever. And I was like, nah, dude.
According to the to Mayo Clinic, which is actually really close to us. But according to them, they rate they have like an uncommon, common, or very uncommon, uncommon, common, very common, like ranking
Right.
system.
That's how side effects are ranked. Yeah.
They rate that's how they rank the rate of prescription. More than 3 million cases of prescription for ADHD medications in the U.S. It is rated common to very common for every single age group.
Jeez. And for every racial group, or is there a
But you got to figure that
difference?
if you know, obviously, if white people are the majority, they're going to be getting prescribed more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
even if it is the same across the board.
But then also you wonder, I mean, there's always the statistics about socioeconomic, like school districts and the
well, that
difference
plays a role too.
Right. And so and certain school districts in like maybe wealthier neighborhoods expect more from the kids, and that behavior is more disruptive in class, so they're more likely to drug these kids to keep them from
the trust
disrupting
fund
the
kids
whole...
are always fucking getting fucked up on Adderall, dude, in like college and shit too.
Yeah.
Like they're all high on that shit.
Yeah, they're
doing term papers and shit like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Of papers, looking at a peer-reviewed journal paper, it's called Racial and Ethnic Disparities in ADHD Diagnosis and Treatment by Tumiani Coker, MD, MBA, and Mark and Elliott, PhD, and Mark Schuster, MD and PhD. They studied 4,297 children and parents over 3 waves, 5th, 7th, and 10th grade. They said across all waves, African American and Latino children compared with white children had lower odds of having an ADHD diagnosis and of taking ADHD medication. And that is controlling for sociodemographic, ADHD symptom, and other potential comorbid mental health symptoms.
Huh. So white kids are being prescribed this shit more than other kids are.
Yep.
Yes. Let's see. The rate diagnosis is also going up significantly from 7.8% in 2003 to 11% in 2011.
Because they changed the diagnostic criteria.
Right.
Well, not only that, but I'm sure that it obviously benefits the pharmaceutical companies if they have more customers.
The schools get more federal funding for every kid.
Oh, dude. Yeah, when I told my sister about the whole thing about getting the kids off of that shit, she went into a meeting with people in the school, and she was like, how many of the kids in this school are you prescribing this stuff to? And they were all just like, they were mum about it, dude. Like, wouldn't say a thing. They just like, she said they all got like pale.
Jeez.
And she was like, at that point, she's like, I could tell it was like kind of an agenda. Like,
they get extra
like,
federal funding for every special needs or IEP student that they have in the school.
Yeah, well, and this paper actually talked about. It said that they've previously always just assumed that it was just assumed in most papers that disparity was a result of underdiagnosis of African American Latino children. However, they said, quote, in light of the increasing prevalence researchers have recognized that overdiagnosis or overtreatment of white children is a possible alternative explanation for the disparity, although previous studies have examined which explanation is most likely.
Yeah.
Never even bothered to look into it at all and ask the question, are we doing this to too much?
Right.
Since 1998, in the last 20 years, the pharmaceutical and health products industry has spent $4 trillion or $4 billion, 65 million on lobbying.
Oh yeah, of course.
Unregistered lobbying.
Yeah.
Right.
You know they're sliding shit under the table.
And that's not factoring in the trips to go skiing on a glacier with Swedish supermodels and shit that they hand out to senators who are, inclined to be friendly to them.
And that's not accounting like the insider trading that they're allowed to do.
Yeah,
as senators and Congress people.
That is almost as much as the next two highest spenders combined, which are insurance at 2.77 and electric utilities at 2.41.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now think about this, right? They're feeding all these kids these pills, right? Between the antidepressants and the fucking these meds that are giving kids psychosis, and then they feed them through the fucking indoctrination pipeline in the fucking college, and then these kids' heads are getting pumped full of this cultural Marxist shit, and they're going fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Because it's all like subjective reality shit where you can define your own fucking reality and you get to choose whatever
And their
you
reality's
want to be.
already been fucked up for years.
Yeah,
So it's comforting to that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
crazy,
anybody
dude.
like you ever notice that the school shooters are all like exclusively boys, and boys are at least twice as likely to be diagnosed with ADHD and medicated as girls are.
Yeah, well, and just glancing through that study really, really fast too. It also and I think that might be the only study I've ever actually seen that even bothers to ask any questions on those rates or anything.
Yeah,
right.
And they kind of point that out in the study. They're like, no one seems to have ever actually asked this question before.
Right.
How odd.
Having had twins myself, a boy and a girl, my daughter matured a lot faster than my son did.
And boys, that's normal.
Yeah,
it's very normal.
You also have to take into account that a female's brain is different than a male's brain in the sense that the blood-brain barrier, when it comes to like medication and things like that, women are more resilient to that. Like I think they have a stronger blood-brain barrier than males do. So it's like it affects the, you know what I mean? That would have like more of an effect on the male mind.
The receptors, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and then. Yeah.
Well,
and then not only that, but the entire public school system is dominated by women. So little boys' behavior is going to seem unnatural to almost every adult they have contact with.
And that,
And
that study actually, that's what I was going to say, is actually, if you read through that study, they actually make the case in the study, and it's not actually a goal of one of the things that they set out to say with this study, but one of the things that they make a casual note of is that when controlled for variables for alternative explanations for the behavior, including extreme anxiety, oppositional defiant disorder, or a couple other things, that the rate of over-medication of whites seems to dramatically increase. Which means that what that should tell you is it's probably likely that what's happening is as soon as a white boy is like, hey, I don't want to just sit here. I don't want to be bored. This isn't how I learn.
Yeah, once the defiance comes out.
Yeah,
there's ingrained bias that they immediately want to diagnose the kid as having a disorder.
I don't know why that just like totally brings up the Chicago teacher union in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
So.
That's what you see though, and you see it where. And it's so funny because there's such a huge stereotype for people that, there's, in minority communities, fathers aren't around and blah, blah, blah. And it is an incorrect stereotype, at least in my experience.
Yeah, Sarah in the comments is correct. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. And the problem is that what actually the reality is that most dads in minority communities and stuff, at least based on this study and anecdotal experience, are more likely to go, well, boys will be boys. Let them go out and play. Let them play baseball. Let them play basketball, whatever. Let them have fun and do their thing.
Yeah.
And in white society, there is, especially upper middle class and upper class white society, you tend to see this really huge drive against any kind of nonconformity, any kind of I want to go out
to like insulate them.
And a lot of these parents put so much pressure on their children to perform.
Oh
and, you know.
Oh yeah, because the parents like live through kids, like their kids' success is their success. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's how they. It's more of like an ego-driven thing than like actually wanting to see their kids succeed. You know what I mean?
They
Like
tie their whole identity into raising successful children.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you see that over and over and over again. Whereas in a lot of minority communities, especially a lot of working class minority communities, hey, you know what? There's no shame in being the guy that picks up the garbage because you're still essential. You still make civilized society fun.
Like,
make some room for life and just living and having a good time.
This actually carries over really well into our next article.
I just want to tell the whole internet, though, that this whole topic is one of the biggest reasons that I homeschool my boys.
Yeah, right.
It's one of the reasons that my kids were homeschooled also.
Yep.
My daughter was. She goes to a private school now. But
no. All right. The Army can't recruit enough soldiers, and it may start talking to kids as young as 12 to find them.
So dope them up on fucking mind-altering drugs.
Have you guys?
And then move in and push your fucking propaganda down their throats until they volunteer as cannon fodder.
So what is this like?
Until they volunteer as cannon fodder to fucking protect the interests of global bankers that fucking back everything you do in the government.
Yep.
What is this like? Fucking the Congo where we have like children soldiers now?
I think they're just talking to middle schoolers and like trying to plant seeds.
I was gonna say
they laid out really good in this article. High school seniors have traditionally been Army recruiting the most reliable target audience, but leadership is realizing that as military service becomes more and more rare and fewer American youth actually know a soldier or veteran, they'll need to make up the gap by reaching out to younger prospects. It's a matter of behavioral economics, the Army Assistant Secretary for Manpower and
Christ.
What an Orwellian term.
I was just thinking that, Dan. I was just thinking that.
Behavioral economics, Well, with the acknowledgement most people have made a mental list of what they might want to be when they grow up by the time they've reached adolescence. Okay. Quote, I would argue that...
It's totally realistic, too.
Yeah, I would argue that in looking at these generations, we have to begin thinking about how they approach this question and where will they apply their talent. Dr. E. Casey Wardinsky said, quote, we have to confront the question, will we wait until they're 17 or will we start talking to them at the age 12, 13, 14, 15 when they form a set of things that they are thinking about doing with their life?
It's not your job to help them figure that out.
Yeah.
They have the interest of the fatherland at heart.
Hold on, right. And particular if
Hitler Youth shit.
Yeah, exactly. Let's give them some knives.
And particularly if their parents or other close family members never served, the option may either not occur to them or could be completely written off. Quote, if we wait until they're 17 or 18, we will not be their first impression, Wadinsky said.
Translation, if we wait until they're
for us.
And if we wait until their brains develop a little bit more, they might figure out that we're not a good option.
I was just going to say that the translation for that, just meat and potatoes translation would be, we got to set our hooks in them way earlier in life, where before they
start thinking for themselves.
Yeah, before they figure it out.
Contracts to 12-year-olds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's the thing is you need to, and that's, a page straight out of Hitler and Goebbels playbooks.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's this idea that you have to ingrain the idea of service to the fatherland. in their brains early enough that forms a core chunk of their belief system as they get older. So
How did that happen for
in their
you?
mind.
How did that happen for you, Andrew? Like for me, my father served, my grandfather served, like all the way back. There's been somebody from every generation of my family in the military. We're like fucking Forrest Gump's family, right?
Well, and it's
so that's how it happened to me. They didn't even have to work on me. I walked into their fucking recruiter station.
My grandpa was in Korea.
My dad was Vietnam. My grandpa was World War II.
Yeah, my grandpa was in Korea. A ton of my friends' fathers were in the military. My best friend's dad was a Marine, and he'd been Marine recon and stuff. So he was really hardcore, and he was planning on going to the Marines when my other buddies was planning on going to the Marines. I didn't want anything to do with the Marines because I'm not a bullet sponge. And
that's what Dad always called them.
Yeah, I'm not so like I didn't want anything to do with that, but I had grown up with this idea of, and like I grew up watching movies about Carlos Hathcock and Audie Murphy and all of these guys that celebrated, John Wayne's Longest Day and a few of the others that he did.
Even shit like Under Siege and A Few Good Men and an Officer and a Gentleman and stuff like that. I mean, like, this permeated our culture when we were kids.
Oh yeah, and watching, you watched like in my case, like you watched Desert Storm happen, and and the huge celebrations that happened when everybody came back, and they all got these parades, even though the ground forces didn't really do anything.
Right.
But
the brave returning heroes.
Yeah, and you saw all of this, and when you grow up, and because I've always been a history buff and a huge history buff for me, military history always interested me, and so I read all these amazing things about these guys who did these incredible things in history, in the military and in war, and so
and you're reading about them hundreds of years later. Their names still live on.
Yeah,
because of these deeds that they did. Yeah.
Yeah, so and it was this. It was a constant celebration of military service everywhere I went. Everything was about the military. Everything was the military is great. Everything is fantastic. And then when I became a neocon while I was still in high school and wound up going, hey, I want to go into the Army. And then that worked out real friggin' hot for me. So,
I was in Sea Cadets in high school. It's like JROTC.
They try and sell like the they try and sell the fucking Star Spangled Banner packaged fucking deal without showing its dark underbelly.
Of course.
My recruiter, I can remember actually my recruiter, one of my recruiters that I talked to, he actually, the very first day I met him, he was 82nd Airborne. And the very first day I met him, he like sits down, he's talking to me and stuff, and he throws a challenge coin on the table from Special Forces that he got in Kosovo for carrying a guy out after he got his head blown off by a sniper. And Special Forces had given it to him for carrying the dude out literally on his shoulders. And like he's just like, yeah, they gave that to me. It was pretty cool. And like he was always very like, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and everything. And he's like, oh, you're pretty smart. You'd probably get along in Special Forces. And it's just, and as a recruiter, like you have to have that mentality. I'm sure that, that's everything's cool and you should really be into this. But any recruiter who's actually seen combat, dude, the entire time you knew what that actually would do because it had done it to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You knew what it would do, and you lied, and you didn't say anything about it, and that's what these guys
and you roped these innocent kids into fucking doing it and deciding for it.
Tara says, start countering recruiting with principles of anarchism. Might be time for her to get back into childcare. I would argue that getting your kid out of public schooling is the single greatest thing that you can give that kid a chance for freedom.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that the rates of kids who go to private schools or are homeschooled that wind up enlisting is so much lower than ones who go to public school.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Oh, I'm positive.
Like, my old man was Special Forces, and he was, like, adamantly against me not joining.
There's a ton. Out of the Special Forces community, there are so many anti-military service and anti-war people because it's a lot different when you've actually seen it from that perspective and you actually know, and you've been encouraged to think for yourself for years.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you start to see what that actually looks like. And like I saw a video of a guy who was actually, he was like one of our founding members. Like he was the guys who got to wear the Green Berets from JFK. Right.
Nice.
So this is the very beginning. And he was talking about why he would not allow his son to enlist at all. And he's talking to the camera and he's like, why would you want to do that? And he goes through like, oh, do you want to suffer? Do you want to be broken forever? Do you want all of these? And he's like, why would somebody want that? Why would I encourage that in my child? That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
We've already told the boys that we don't want them fighting in any of these wars.
Andrew, your buddy Christopher says, my recruiter was a combat veteran and told me exactly what I was in for, and my dumbass still signed.
Wow.
Well, and from like my community, because I'm from a very small town in Wisconsin, most of the recruiting that we got was based off of not so much, oh, you need to do this for your country or look at what your family did, but more so, you guys can't afford college.
Yeah,
for career opportunity or college opportunity.
Yep, getting the fuck out of your hometown.
Yep.
Well, that's almost like an economic draft.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. That when the report came out that the Army missed their recruiting numbers, that was one of the things that they pointed to as why they missed it is because we have a good economy right now.
Yeah, the better the economy, the harder it is to recruit, which I think should say a lot of where they pull soldiers. And it's the same thing. Remember that everybody talked about in Vietnam that was so big. The ain't no fortunate son, right?
Yep.
It is a rich man's war and a poor man's fight, and that's still what it is. The rich decide to go to war, and all of the poor people got to go fight it for them. The serfdom has never gone away. It's just gotten a lot more subtle.
That's exactly what that video of mine was about. The Bring the Troops Home video on Veteran Anarchy.
Yep,
the one that got like thousands of shares and hundreds of thousands of views.
And hate comments
and hate comments, lots of those.
Yeah, you'll have a few of those from time to time.
You know you're over the target if you're fucking getting hate comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
but it got shared all over the world.
Yeah.
Like there were people commenting from all over.
That's fucking
the
awesome,
world.
dude.
Yeah, it was a great video. I remember going through it and like having to hit the translation button in order to understand what people were commenting.
Yeah.
I was moved because you were like sincere about what you were saying and shit. So,
well, it's a serious fucking topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, these elite and it hits home for you that have their own fucking club. They want to use us. They want to use our children as the fucking cannon fodder, as bullet sponges to fight their wars for their fucking profit. And they're going to lie to us about why these wars are necessary to get us to fight them for them.
Well, and I've always said, you really want to counteract a lot of that. Get memoirs from soldiers from World War I.
Yeah.
And read them. Read those to kids. Show kids what they said and talk about the live and let live mentality that pervaded the entire Western Front. That none of these guys wanted to fight, and half the time they literally had dinner together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Smedley
and Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I mean, everybody's kids should be reading that.
Confessions of Economic Hitman and the Smedley Butler's book, War is a Racket.
Yep.
Those are both readily available online. You can find full copies of it on one of the pages. One of the pages that I have. Positivity, Voluntaryism, something or other.
Well, the War is a Racket. Wasn't he a war hero like in World War I? Like he actually had won a ton of medals and everything else, and
he's got a full cage, yeah.
Yeah, and his immediate thought after the war is this was nothing but a business decision by a bunch of underhanded pieces of shit who saw a way to make millions off of the death of all of us.
Yep.
Yeah. He's pretty much saying that, like, he said that, like, Al Capone or whoever was able to operate in so many different, like, districts or whatever, but he's like, I operated in multiple continents for fucking, United Fruit Corporation and, all these fucking corporations. He said he pretty much was a mercenary for the, corporate arm of the government. But, one of my favorite Ezra Pound quotes is that he said, the problem with modern war is that it doesn't give you the chance to kill the right people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well,
That's really fucking true.
Right.
That quote from MASH, I love so much.
I love that show. I fucking love that.
Like
show.
I have a proposition here. Instead of like next time they try and get us into a world war, why don't we all just like fucking get together as people of different nations and just fucking kill the elite?
Yeah.
I'd find
we
it.
We'll just all hunt.
We
We'll all
can
hunt them
just
down.
meet up
Fuck
on
'em.
the battlefield and sit down and fucking smoke a bowl and make
I-
them do something about it.
I was so excited the other day. I was on Etsy and I found an original 1960s, so Vietnam War era poster that's a photo of Arlington Cemetery, and it's about I forget exactly what it says. It's war, and it says, let me find it. Give me just 1 second. I'll tell you exactly what it says because it's a freaking phenomenal poster, and I want it in the worst damn way.
Have any of you guys ever been to Arlington? Arlington is one of the most heartbreaking places
Oh, dude, I
on
bet.
the fucking planet, if you ask me.
Or the Western Front, the Western Front, American and British and things that get graveyards that are all over France.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just absolutely hard. Where if you look at the ages, the born and dead,
Yeah.
Yeah.
17, 16.
14, 15, 16-year-old kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Fucking sad, man.
They were, and we're talking about only a couple of years younger than that being recruited. So you're talking about, again, a return to that, again, to the child soldiers, to the 14, 15-year-olds who are going, if you ever get
And
a
it
chance.
is not their war. Who here has raised teenagers? Me and Jason. Do they give a fuck about geopolitics?
No.
But you got to think
No.
about it this way also
This
at
is
the same
not
time
their
when like
fucking war.
back during like World War II generation, like you have to figure that those kids that were like 14, 15, not saying that it's like, you know, justified or anything like that, but 14, 15-year-olds back then were way more mature and like
Yeah, more grown up.
yeah, totally more grown up than a 14 or 15-year-old now.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's the poster, the original poster. But it says, "We are the unwilling, led by the unqualified, to do the unnecessary for the ungrateful."
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that one. So, all right, let's jump on this last article.
Okay.
And since we're
Oh yeah, because I
right
gotta
at
go
time,
real soon.
it's another voluntarism article. It's meet the Oak Cliff man and his mom giving away free fresh veggies.
Nice.
Despite our obsession with quality barbecue, tacos, and whatever looks good on Instagram, there are some Dallas initiatives making an effort to bring accessible, healthy, quality food to communities lacking these options, especially in the southern sector. The Oak Cliff Veggie Project is a nonprofit organization looking to provide underserved Dallas neighborhoods with access to fresh vegetables, all while focusing on the 3 points of service: education, cultivation, and preparation. Not only has the project started a community garden, but as one of the founders says, the Oak Cliff Veggie Store, located in the parking lot of blah, 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 provides those in need of produce every third Saturday without price tags. Once a month, we give away free food, he said. At every one of these events, we meet more people that want to grow their own food and that know that plant-based lifestyle will help some of the conditions they have and their families. This is what the whole program is about: community empowerment. Yeah, so it's a guy,
awesome.
and his mom. His mom grew vegetables, and he really liked the idea and saw the freedom in it, and he started to bring it to the community and giving away whatever they grew. And now it has blossomed into something even bigger, a nonprofit organization with other people wanting to grow and other people wanting to give away surplus. And it's just, it's
Because gardening, even if you
community
don't eat
empowerment,
your
yeah.
own harvest, gardening is soothing. Gardening is good for human beings. It's good for your soul. It gets your body moving. It, you know, it
Gets you in touch
gardening
with
is a
the
very,
with the earth, man.
yeah, and it's an extremely healthy hobby. You know,
Well, and you know, and if you are gardening, you are taking responsibility for something other than yourself. So if you can get your kids into it, that teaches them a lot of responsibility, the value of a hard day's work because they get rewarded at the end of
It's
it.
a valuable skill to have.
and it's just fun. It's fun to see something that you planted blossom and grow.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's, I mean, like I'm in raptures
Like I did
for
that,
my apple
motherfucker.
orchard. I've got blooms.
Right.
on some of my trees, and I'm
I
just
saw
so
the-
excited about it.
Yeah. I'm excited for them.
Yeah,
And I'm like 3,000 miles away from them.
right. My little 6-tree orchard in my yard.
That qualifies as an orchard, right? It's more than one
I
tree.
think so. Yeah. And it's 3 different varieties. So,
Nice.
See? So it's even a diverse
Nice.
orchard.
well, okay. So it's 3 varieties because the main variety I wanted was Gravensteins, but they're what's called a triploid or trinome. And
So like you
they
need the pollination from all 3?
from 2 others. They have to be
Oh, okay,
pollinated
okay.
by 2 other varieties that are compatible pollinators with them and compatible pollinators with each other.
Yeah. Holy
So,
shit.
yeah, so that's why
Yeah, botany is definitely a
Gravensteins-
science, man.
Yeah,
Especially when you're doing shit like that.
yeah. So I had to, in order to get 2 Gravensteins, we got 2 white blossom crab apples called Transcendence, and then 2 gala trees. So I have crab apples for pectin
Mhm.
and
Yep.
for some cooking. I have the Gravensteins, which are cooking apples.
You know I'm
And
living
then-
vicariously through you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Drinking
So the
shit.
Gravensteins are like cider, applesauce, apple pie apples.
we need to
Nice.
grow watermelons, by the way.
Yeah. And then the galas are just raw eating apples, of course.
Yep.
So,
You had me at
Yeah.
cider.
yeah.
Yeah, right?
I got a fermenting kit
Did you know? Did you
in
know,
the war
did you know that,
room.
did you know that it's technically illegal to make Applejack?
Really?
Applejack. Okay, Applejack is technically a fermented, or not a ferment. It's a it's a distilled drink. So like you take fermented cider, and you
My
leave-
brother-in-law used to make tons of that
Yeah,
shit.
well, to make Applejack, what you do is you leave it outside and it freezes, and then because the water freezes but the alcohol doesn't, you just
Yep,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
it's technically a distilling process, and it's actually illegal.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
he had that shit in the basement and it would freeze over and fucking, you just
Just
drain
put it in the
fucking-
freezer. I mean,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, same thing. And you
But
just
he had it in a big cask.
the ice. Yeah.
Yeah, but solely because you're attempting to do it intentionally and it's not an oops. Now magically it's suddenly illegal.
Yeah.
And you see that over and over again with like a lot of alcohols where they wind up being illegal because they can't tax them.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for Wisconsin for the most part, because Wisconsin, like, we actually have a I don't know category for taxation of alcohols. So, like, if something doesn't fit into any other specific category, they're like, this rate. So,
But thanks
like,
for the recipe, Jason.
I think that I remember a whiskey rebellion or something starting over that.
sounds familiar. Washington, I learned about that in school. He just talked to him and got him to go home. There wasn't like
Yeah.
hundreds of dead Americans laying
And I
out.
seem to remember this big like law where people couldn't drink, and there was a whole task force devoted to taking down
Yeah, then the government poisoned
speakeasies
people.
and gangsters.
Yeah, the government literally poisoned like 10,000 people.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep. I'm saying strong cider's good. You can make watermelon
It is.
wine.
Yeah.
Telling you,
I've never had that.
watermelon wine. That's that'll get you
It
feeling.
does sound good.
I'm hoping to do strawberries in the vegetable garden once I get that set up. But
Strawberry-
I
next
heard
year.
watermelon's very hydrating.
We're already kind of past strawberry season, or we're getting towards the end of it. So
Strawberries are good too, though.
Well, for planting it anyway. And, yeah.
Watermelon
Right,
also has some
that's what
kind
I
of
mean.
like ingredient. I forget exactly what the fuck it is, but it relaxes your blood vessels.
It'll filter water too, so you can actually
Yeah.
eat Mexican watermelons. So, all right, you guys got anything else?
Nope.
just
Oh,
a need to pee and
I did have that one quote that I was going to mention from MASH.
oh
Okay.
yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Where
Close
they-
it out with that.
So,
where the preacher said war is hell, and Hawkeye says war is in hell. War is war and hell is hell. And of the two, war is a lot worse. He said, "How do you figure, Hawkeye? Easy, father. Tell me, who goes to hell? Sinners, I believe." Exactly. There are no innocent bystanders in hell. War is chock full of them. Little kids, cripples, old ladies. In fact, except for some of the brass, almost everybody involved is an innocent bystander.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. One of my favorite quotes from that show.
So yeah. Again, we're on Anchor now. We're also on Google Podcast, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Stitcher. So
Also, buy my book.
yes, Derica's book, Dan's page, Andrew's YouTube, as well as our Anchor link are all in the description of this video. And go check them out. We'll catch you next time.
Opt out, rule yourself.
Peace.
Yep.